Welcome to Obsidian TTRPG-tutorials.com. Let's learn how to use the tool. Alright, g'day guys, and welcome back today to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to be having a refreshed look at banners. Banners are obviously super cool because you can add them to your top of your notes and they sort of really just make that note pop. There's been a bit of a long history here with banners in Obsidian. There's two plugins in my mind. If I think of plugins that break, I think of banners and I think of icons. They're just two plugins that have struggled over the years to keep up with all the changes. So I thought we'd jump in today. Let's do a refresh look. Let's see what's on the market for banners and what options have you got. Now we're going to start today with the ITS theme. That's the one that I've been using, and anyone who's aware of my videos will recognize that I use the ITS theme quite a lot. It's made by a member of the TTRPG community, SLRVB. I still don't know how to say your name. It's just a bunch of characters from what I can tell. But yeah, so that's the theme that I use in all of my vaults. My Patreon vault comes with the ITS theme, and the ITS theme comes with a bunch of CSS snippets that allow you to do some really cool stuff. It's how I move images right, left, center. It's how I add the info wiki style tables to the right of a screen, and it's also how I go through and I add my banners currently. All right, so let's just jump in and have a quick look at this. So let's start with where to get it. If we come down here to the cog, we go into settings, we come to appearance, we go to manage. The easiest way to get the ITS theme is to come here and search for the ITS theme. All right, and then basically install and enable this plugin. Okay, now this is a really cool plugin. So it's got some pretty advanced documentation and examples in here. What you want to do with this plugin though is make sure you click out the ITS theme documentation, because this is the site that basically tells you how this theme works and all the extra things that it can do. There is a support me on Ko-fi link here for SLRVB. I highly recommend you jump in and support her because she has maintained this thing for years now. But if we come down here to image adjustments, this is what we're talking about today. Now, I will say, if you are not using the theme or you want to use a different theme, you can download the image adjustment snippet right here. Okay, and then you can actually come and install that in your vault, all right, as an option. All right, but let's just go back here. We'll focus on this first. Where did I just go? Here's the image adjustment documentation. All right, so the download link's up the top, and we're looking for the banner section. Once we're down here, it basically gives you some extra code. All right, so banner, banner plus small, banner plus tall, or S-band. And what that's basically doing is it's allowing us to use an image inside of the vault. If we come here to ITS banner test, you'll see here's one I prepared earlier. And we'll just basically click around here. I'm going to come down here. So I've added in an image. And just to show you how easy this is, I could just drag one. All right, from an image, or I could paste one. It's just an image, right? It's just an image in my note, and I like that. All right, I think that's simple and it's easy to use. And all I do is I do a pipe, which is the straight line, all right, and type banner. All right, and that automatically becomes a banner across the top of the page. Now, as you can see, there's a problem with this. Okay, it's stretched the image, but it's positioned it in a weird way that doesn't necessarily look so good. And that's where we go back to this image adjustment site, right? So we come down, or up, sorry. We come down to this section here, all right? We've got some different options here for moving the images around. All right, so move inside of the image to the top, P plus T. What that means, we come here and put a P plus a T, all right, in behind the pipe, all right, with a space there, and you can see you can actually adjust it. All right, so that was a P plus T. That moves inside of the image to the top. P plus C would move it to the center. All right, we kind of want to go a little bit higher. If we come here, let's try slightly higher. So P plus CT. P plus CT. Let's try that one. Slightly higher, not exactly where I'd put it. All right, and I think this is probably the problem with the ITS theme banner, right? Is you've got to really sort of adjust things manually using the available options to sort of get it where you want it to go. So while it's easy and simple, you don't always get as much control over this as you would probably like. I will say though, I like that there's no plugin involved. I like that it's just a link in my notes. I like that I can put them down wherever I want the banners. It's just clean and it's relatively simple and easy to use, even if the outcome isn't quite what I'm looking for. All right, so that's the ITS theme. As you can see, you download the theme or you download the CSS. If you download the CSS manually, you just come here to the cog icon, go to Appearance, come down here to CSS Snippets and click the Open Folder button. All right, that will open up the folder, which is where you put the snippet. And then when you come in here and click Refresh, you've basically just got to enable it down here. All right, so installing it's very simple, using it's very simple, it's quick, clean and clear, but there is a new plugin on the market. So let's jump in and let's have a look at pixel banners. Okay, so here we go. This is a test note with a pixel banner. And as you can see, it takes up the top of the note. It's got some nice rounding effects on it. It's got a fade effect on it. And it's even got this really cool skull icon over here. All right, so it looks really clean and crisp. It looks quite lovely. All right, so let's start with how do we install this. It's a plugin, so we come down here, we go to settings. All right, then we come up here to community plugins. We do a browse and we do a search for pixel banner. All right, click in here. This is by Justin Parker. All right, there's a nice, clean, easy to read README. All right, so go ahead, do the install, do the enable there. Now, I will say before we continue on this one, this is an AI-empowered plugin. All right, it's not necessary. All right, it's optional, but it is here. It's got the capability. All right, but if we go to options, all right, one of the things that is available is this plus button. All right, and you come in here. We've basically, you put your email address in, you put your API key in, and you need to go through and set that up. Basically though, you've got to create an account with this thing. And I will say that I had some trouble setting this up. The button wasn't working the day I tried to use it, and they just emailed me my account to me the next day without any prompting from myself. So it just took a bit of a time delay. But once they emailed me my details, I put my email address in, I put my API code in, and then basically I'm set up with Plus. And what Plus allows you to do, from what I can gather, is to actually purchase tokens. One token is equal to one banner, from what I can tell, and then you can basically go and utilize that to create banners using the AI content. All right, so we're not going to go through that straight away. And also just be aware, don't share these details with anyone, right? I will mask these out for the video. Right, if we go back to the settings, all right, always have a look through the settings. You can see there is a lot of settings in here for you to modify both the banner and the icon. All right, so let's just start. Let's go in and have a look at it. The plugin's enabled. Let's create a new note and let's see what it looks like. So new note, new pixel banner. All right, we're going to now add a banner, and what it does is it adds this flag up the top. All right, so I can click that. And basically this little panel comes up, all right, and you can see you've got some options here. So AI banner, store, your vault, or URL. Now I'm going to start with your vault because that's your localized. That's going to be my use case 90% of the time, if I'm honest. So we're going to go your vault, all right, and here select an image from your vault or upload a new one. In the settings, you can define the folder that it's going to by default look at, and that's what I've done here. Is I've set it to z_assets/banners, and I've just been putting my banners in there. It automatically gives me a list of all the banners that are available through that method. Okay, and if I click on an image, all right, it automatically adds it, and then it pops up a window and asks, would you like to add an icon? All right, so I don't know. Yep, we're going to add an icon of a troll. Here we go. We're going to update the banner icon. There we go. All right. Now we get this settings pane that allows us to choose different things. All right. So we got a flag color is one of the things that jumped out at me. I don't like the red. Kind of gets in the way. Right. Like my eyes are drawn to it. I'm like, I don't need my eyes to be drawn to the flag. It needs to be up there. So I'm going to click black and basically hide it. And then we've got banner image settings up here. So cover, height. All right, we can modify the height. All right, it's probably a bit too high there, if I'm honest. There we go, 300, that's probably better. All right, so content start position. This one actually sets where the content begins on the page. All right, so you can move it down, you can move it up. All right, quite like that because it lets you sort of pick how much space on the screen the banner's actually going to be able to take up, but also there where the note starts. All right, so that's really quite powerful. And some people might like to start it at the very top. All right, other people might like to start it just around the middle there, whatever. I think that's really, really cool. Now this here though, this is probably my favorite bit. Those image adjustments we just did with the ITS theme are much easier to do over here. Okay, we can just basically move that image around to wherever we want it to go. All right, and as you can see, that's very easy. On the left-hand side, we've also got some different types of banners. All right, so there's an auto. All right, we can change that. Now that's got a hell of a zoom going on. All right, contain, much smaller. All right, looks like we can actually stick it over on the right. That would be an interesting effect, actually. We can have a repeatable option. All right, and then we got cover zoom. All right, so again, that's just taking up most of the space. And honestly, like that for me, like between cover and cover zoom, they seem to do the same thing for me. I think that's the one I like for this one. All right, then we go on and we got banner icon settings. All right, so this is the icon. We can obviously move this icon. All right, so we can move it over to the left instead of the right if we want, and we can move the positioning. All right, just keeping in mind that you're probably going to need to adjust the start content for whatever you do here as well. You can have them on top of each other, for example. Might go a little bit more. All right, there we go. So you can have it on top of each other. We've also got some color here. All right, so it's worth noting that when you have the icon, you can actually put text in here as well. All right, so if I update with text, I actually get some text. I can change the color of that text. I can give the font some different weight. All right, and I can also come in here and I can set a background color for this as well if I want. All right, and as you can see, this really changes the output of this and what it really looks like. Right, so up to you what you do here. It's quite powerful. I'm sure people could make some lovely designs. I personally, you know, I'm quite happy just to set it so you can't see the background. I like that quite a bit. And yeah, there we go. It's worth noting you can also change the border radius. All right, so you can turn it from a circle into a square. All right, so quite a powerful feature for those who want to play around with it. And it does look really cool. All right, if we click close, I really quite like that as a banner, right? It's just, it pops. I like how easy it is to actually adjust that image and put it where the focus point. And I'll be honest, that for me, that's the main thing. Like, I don't need an icon, if I'm completely honest. And I don't need the text, if I'm completely honest. Right, I might just leave it like that, for example. Have the banner nice, clean, clear, easy to see, and then I can move on to my notes, because that's obviously what it's all about. Now, it's worth mentioning just how this plugin is working on the background, all right? And you can see here that when I've selected a plugin, it's actually added the banner property to this note. It's added the icon property to the note, and it's storing this inside the actual source of the note, all right? So you can see here, there's the properties, and you can see the details there. Now, if we actually go to the settings of this plugin, though, there's actually a section here for custom fields, all right? So you can see here, we've got banner field names, XY positions, we've got icon positions, the fade amount. All right, so there's actually a lot of different details in here that you can actually set. Interesting that you got the the fade in the properties and not in the UI. But it might be worth having a bit of a play around if you're an advanced user and you really want to like dive into the deep end of this thing. There is a lot of properties here you can play with. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. Alright, so that was how to create a banner using one of our local images. There is an option though for us to come in here, and if you press the flag on any note, alright, we can actually come here to the store. And the store provides a set of pre-made banners that you can pick from. Just be careful in here though. As you can see, there's these little icons. That's the cost. Okay, so basically there's some banners in here that, you know, are being charged for. And the idea is that you have your tokens, okay? You can purchase more tokens through the settings of this application. But the idea is you come in here and you go, all right, I want one of these, and you'll either pay for it or you get a free one. I'm going to pick a free one. All right. And then we pick where we want it to go. So I'm going to go Z_assets, and then I'm going to pick the banners folder, and then here's the name. All right. There's an option here to use saved images banner. I'm going to leave that turned on. And when I click save, it basically comes up here and sets that. Okay. And that's it, right? I've now got a new banner. So the store is available. It's a way for you to get access to banners. Honestly, I don't see myself buying many banners, if I'm honest, right? I'm going to just go to Google. I'm going to Google a banner and I'm going to bring it in, all right? But it's nice that they have the option there. Now, another option as well, if we come up here to the flag, is the AI banner. All right, now we said we gave a warning at the start to say there was some AI content in this video. You can click AI banner. All right, and here we have a prompt. So here I'm going to have goblins riding wolves through the snow, through a snowy forest. All right, let's grow your idea. I'm just going to press that button just to see what it does. It expands that. Okay, so in the heart of a frost-kissed forest where snow blankets the world in an icy embrace, a troop of goblins, gnarled and grotesque, ride fierce and powerful wolves, their fur matted with snowflakes that shimmer in the silver moonlight. The goblins' eyes gleam with wicked delight. Jesus. Okay, so that's just like really adding to this. So we're going to click generate. I've got 4 tokens left. All right, when I click generate, it's going to cost me a token. All right, so here it goes. There we go, 1 token down. Now I've got this. I don't know if they're goblins, but you know what? We're making a banner, so I think it's okay. We're going to download and use as banner. We're going to put it. I'm going to put it in my banners folder, and then we're going to save it. There we go. All right, so again, we can press the settings. We can adjust the positioning of this. I quite like that, to be honest. There we go. All right, so very much similar functionality, I guess you would say, to the local image, except that it's creating the image for you. All right, so you have a choice here. You can either go out and you can source your banners yourself. You could use your own AI solution, right? If you've got your own account going somewhere, ChatGPT or Midjourney or whatever, I'm sure you could find something. Or you could just go to good old Google, right, and look for banners and ideally pay your artists for their art use, okay? And then, yeah, you just basically put it in here. I think that looks fantastic, to be honest. It really sort of sets the scene for the note. And then I can obviously proceed to have my notes under there. So yeah, I think that looks really good. All right, so there we go. That has been pixel banners and how to do banners in general. All right, so whether it's the ITS theme or pixel banners, I think they're both 2 very strong methods for putting banners in your notes. I am certainly leaning towards using pixel banners after the experience I've had making this video. I think that these banners look fantastic. I really like, as I said, the way they sit on the screen, that I can customize where my focus point is, and then I can customize where the note begins. And yeah, it looks really cool. I don't know if I need to have icons, but it's a nice addition, right? It adds that little bit of extra professionalism to the front of my note. So yeah, fantastic solutions. I think, you know, I've always made use of banners anyway. I'm just going to switch over to using it this way. Anyway, that has been another video by Obsidian TTRPG Tutorials. My name is Josh Plunkett. Thank you for watching. If you do enjoy the content, please do like and subscribe. And just a shout out, right, to all of my patrons who support me make this content. Thank you so very, very much for your support. We've been going through the creation of the CLI tool recently, and I'm really glad to hear people are getting some value out of that. The amount of questions we're answering now every week and every weekend on the CLI tool has reduced by like 95%. It's absolutely fantastic. Which gives me more time to actually come in here and focus on making new content. So that's super exciting as well. If you are new to Obsidian though, I'm still seeing people go through to YouTube and they're starting there and they're watching too many videos. If I'm honest, I'm telling you not to watch my content. Yeah. Come here to Obsidian TTRPGtutorials.com. This is where I'm organizing everything, right? If you're new, start with getting started and then move to plugin tutorials. All right. I keep this clean so that, if something changes or updates, this is the primary place that I update it first. All right. So jump in here and have a look here first if you're trying to learn how to use this tool for the first time. And a massive shout out here for the Obsidian TTRPG community Discord. All right, if you are looking for community, if you need help, if you've got a question, this is the place to go. All right, there is just so many of us in there doing all sorts of crazy and cool things with Evolve. And there's channels for different levels of complexity, right? So there's a beginner channel. If you're new to the tool, you can answer your questions in there without fear of someone going in too deep for you. All right, but then we've got the advanced channels as well, where you're free to talk about the really complex stuff. So anyway, join us. We'd love to see you in there. Outside of that, guys, I'll speak to you on the socials. Enjoy. Bye.